Critique of Pure Reason, translated by Max Muller, 1881 edition, Introduction, Section 2, page 59. This shows that the philosophy of Leibniz and Wolff has given a totally wrong direction to all investigations into the nature and origin of our knowledge by representing the difference between the sensible and the intelligible as logical only. So he says that what we can know about an object in the physical world, Leibniz and Wolff, they think that the difference between sensible and intelligible is logical only, in the sense that what we receive through sensible perception or sensible experience is the true nature of reality, the true nature of the object. So Leibniz and Wolff are of the belief that when we sense something, we are grasping the real nature of the thing as it is in itself. And then when we think intelligibly about that which is perceived, we use logic. So Kant says that this is a completely wrong way of understanding things around us and understanding our knowledge in general. That difference is in truth transcendental. It affects not the form only as being more or less confused, but the origin and contents of our knowledge, so that by our sensibility we know the nature of things by themselves, not confusedly only, but not at all. So he says that if it affects not the form only as being more or less confused. So he says that when we perceive something, we are not only grasping the logical part of it, part of the object, part of the knowledge pertaining to the object, but the origin and the contents of our knowledge as well. So he says that through our sensibility, it is not the case that we grasp the nature of things as they are by themselves confusedly, but he says that through sensibility it is impossible to perceive the nature of things as they are by themselves. So Leibniz and Wolff are wrong in believing that through sensibility we can grasp the nature of an object as it is in itself. For instance, he says that Leibniz and Wolff are of the belief that color red actually exists in the object, that is the apple that I see in front of me. He says that it is not the case. Our sensibility makes us believe in certain qualities that we see in an object, but those qualities are not the qualities of the thing in itself, of the apple in itself. So he says that if we drop our subjective condition, the object, as represented with its qualities bestowed on it by sensuous intuition, is nowhere to be found and cannot possibly be found, because its form as phenomenal appearance is determined by those very subjective conditions. So he says that if we drop our subjective way of sensing something, such as an apple, so if I drop the color redness in an object, that is the apple, then the object does not exist to me, which is true, because if there is an apple in front of me and I cannot say that it is red and it appears to have a certain color and it has a certain shape, then the object is nowhere to be found, because the manner in which I perceive apple to be red and as having a particular shape, without that subjective condition, the object does not exist to me at all. Apple does not exist to me at all. So the redness and the shape of the apple that I perceive is its phenomenal appearance, and without this phenomenal appearance, there is no such thing as an apple. So he says that it has been the custom to distinguish a phenomena, that which is essentially inherent in their intuition and is recognized by every human being, from that which belongs to their intuition accidentally only, being valid not for sensibility in general, but only for a particular position and organization of this or that sense. So he says that it has been a common custom to differentiate between what I see in front of me in my intuition and what I believe to see in my intuition, and the preconceived notions that I have about an object that I see in front of me. So there's a distinction between what I think is the nature of an object and the real nature of the object as it appears to me in intuition. So they are two different things. So in that case, the former kind of knowledge is said to represent the object by itself, the latter its appearance only. So he says that there's a common custom. Thinkers or people like Leibniz think that when we look at an object, when we perceive an object, our knowledge of it represents the object by itself. And then when we think about an object, what we are doing is we are thinking about the appearance of an object only and not its nature as it is in itself. But that distinction is merely empirical, he says. What I can think about an object and how it appears to me in front of me are purely empirical. If, as generally happens, people are satisfied with that distinction without again, as they ought, treating the first empirical intuition as purely phenomenal also, in which nothing can be found belonging to the thing by itself, our transcendental distinction is lost, and we believe that we know things by themselves, though in the world of sense, however far we may carry our investigation, we can never have anything before us but mere phenomena. So he says that people think that when they are looking at an object, they are grasping the true nature of the thing as it is in itself, and they ignore this world of sense. So he says that when we look at something, that object is a mere phenomenon for us, and there is no way to understand an object as it is in itself. So to give an illustration, people might call the rainbow a mere phenomenal appearance during a sunny shower, but the rain itself the thing by itself. So he says that people might call the rainbow as a mere phenomenal appearance during a sunny shower, but the rain itself the thing by itself. This would be quite right, physically speaking, and taking rain as something which, in our ordinary experience and under all possible relations to our senses, can be determined thus and thus only in our intuition. But if we take the empirical in general and ask, without caring whether it is the same with every particular observer, whether it represents a thing by itself, not the drops of rain, for these are already as phenomena, empirical objects, then the question as to the relation between the representation and the object becomes transcendental, and not only the drops are mere phenomena, but even their round shape, nay, even the space in which they fall, are nothing by themselves, but only modifications or fundamental dispositions of our sensuous intuition, the transcendental object remaining unknown to us. So he says that something like a raindrop, as when we look at it, is not a thing by itself, because the manner in which I perceive the shape of a raindrop and the manner in which I perceive the space in which I see the raindrop dropping is subjective to me. It is not a thing in itself. The raindrop that I see is not the same thing as it is in itself, in the sense that I could perceive a raindrop differently and another person could perceive the same raindrop in a different manner. So he says that when we look at a rainbow, we do not perceive rain as being a thing by itself. because we have this subjective way of looking at the rain. This is true because, for instance, it is also true for feelings. When you're out on a sunny day, you might feel happy or sad. And this is exactly what Kant is trying to say. The phenomenon of rain, the event of rain, could make you feel different as opposed to the next person standing in front of you. He might perceive the event of rain in a different manner in comparison to you. So he says that when we look at something happening, it is not the case that we are grasping the true nature of that thing or the true shape or size or appearance of that thing. It is our own subjective quality that shapes the thing that we see. Because I have my own feelings and thoughts and predispositions about this thing that I'm seeing, that is rain drop, or the event that is the event of a rainbow on a sunny shower. So he says that a rain is a transcendental object. Rain is a transcendental object which is unknown to us. It is not a thing in itself. Everything has dozens of qualities which cannot be grasped at once through our sensibility. So he says that an object is not a thing in itself. An object that we perceive is a transcendental object by itself, as it is by itself. Transcendental in the sense that it is possible to perceive a particular object in many different ways, and this gives the object this transcendental character. There is no specific or special or fixed manner of perceiving an object.